I want to say something. A prize, motherfucker.
Leave me alone. Don't always give me your phone. Blowing down lips.
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm Demetrius Thickman, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of the Talking Crazy podcast. Now, before we get started with this podcast, do me a favor, head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, and leave this podcast an honest review, because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. Now, first things first, happy Father's Day, you know what I mean? And happy Father's Day to the dads that are in their children's lives, you know what I'm talking about? The active fathers and the fathers that stepped up. I cannot stress that enough. I say that, man, because being a father is probably one of the biggest achievements of my life. Now, for those who know, man, like, you know that my children are a very active piece within my life. You know what I mean? I try to integrate my children with all aspects of what I do, especially because I'm in the military. And one of my biggest insecurities as a father is that I end up exactly like my father. You know, I end up just like my father because my father wasn't in my life. And being in the military, you know, I've been pulled away from monumental events. I've missed births. I've missed, you know, recitals. I've missed graduations. I've missed so many pieces. So when I'm with my kids, man, like I really try to take in that moment. And having a father that wasn't as active, it always looms over my head. So I try to integrate my children in most aspects of my life. Whenever my children can be there, I always try to put them there. To be honest with you, y'all would see more of my children if it wasn't for these fucking scammers taking my pictures and stuff like that. Like, I would actually see a lot more pictures of my children. But one thing that I've learned about fatherhood is that fatherhood will show you pieces of yourself inside of your children. You know what I mean? Like, through your children's eyes, you will see pieces of yourself. For my oldest, she shows me a reflection of me before my environment changed me. You know what I mean? Like, she shows me the imagination. She shows me the creativity. She shows me the honesty. She shows me just she shows me the overall loving piece of me. And I always love that. My son, oh my God, man, like, he shows me this unwavering confidence. You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen a child walk into a room and completely own the space that he's in. He showed me this aspect of never giving up. And for those who don't know, me and my son, man, we box together. You know what I mean? Like, I've been teaching him boxing. And we have good days and we have bad days. We have days that end in smiles, and sometimes we have days that end in tears. But despite how the day ends, he always shows back up. And to see that in a child, man, you know, we pride ourselves on our children's accomplishments, but a lot of times, man, just take a step back and really look at your child, because the thing that you can be most proud of is the thing that he does all the time. And for me, my son, he shows up. And I nurture that, and I appreciate that, and I'm so proud of that. And lastly, you know, my youngest, man, like, oh my God, bro, I've never seen a wildfire. What she has actually shown me is a level of patience, you know, a patience that I never thought that I would have. And she's also shown me that sometimes you ain't got to match the energy. All right, you do not have to match the energy. Just because she's got big energy, that don't mean that I need to have big energy. I need to have energy that can bring her back down. And she showed me this caring side as well. So I'm forever grateful for having the opportunity to be a father. You know what I mean? Like, really having that opportunity to be a father. Now, speaking of opportunities, man, speaking about milestones, man, speaking about major things within my life, I don't know who need to hear this, but did y'all see that one of my videos hit 1 million views? Like for real, like did anybody see that one of my videos hit 1 million views? Like, come on, man. Like, to see that M up under one of my videos, man, like, look. I know this is the part where people usually say that they ain't trying to brag or boast, but I'm going to sit here and just be completely honest with you. I'm bragging and I'm boasting because of the simple fact of I remember how far I've come. You know what I mean? Every time that I've hit a major milestone within my life, I always sit back and I say to myself, man, like, you've come so fucking far, Demetrius. And for those who just tuning in now, like, you just found me on your feed, or somebody just recommended you to me, man. Like, I remember when I was in the closet, and I'm talking about not like just any old closet. It was the storage space. Around me was toilet paper and paper towel and other things that you get from Walmart that you buy in bulk. It was a storage closet that I had cleared out like a little corner. You know what I mean? I had cleared out a little corner just so I can record in. Recording equipment, I had a headset from my Xbox with a gaming mic, you know what I mean? I had an Android phone, I had an Android app, and I was just kicking that heat in a corner, uploading it. I wasn't editing anything out. So to see that my content, not only it resonated, not only did it make its rounds, but to be viewed by 1 million people, man, like, I will always be forever grateful, because no matter what the situation was, I showed back up. You know what I mean? On the days where I felt like I wanted to give up, man, and I really want to let me kick my testimony real quick, because I don't know who going through it right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who need to hear this, because I know it's somebody driving to a job right now, man, and they got that feeling inside of them that they want to give up. You know what I mean? Like, them bad days, they starting to add up. You feel me? They feel like their efforts is not being rewarded. They watching everybody else around them get promoted, get rewarded, get recognized. Meanwhile, they still grinding it out. And sometimes they feel like they want to give up. And I just really want to tell anybody that's feeling that right now, man, like, if you continue to keep your head down, you continue to keep moving forward, you continue to keep overcoming it, you continue to keep showing up, I promise you, man, eventually, it's going to show. And you already know, exactly how I always kick it. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be next week. Hell, it may not be next month. To be honest with you, it may not be next year. But I promise you, if you show up, you feel me? Like, if you really just show up, it will eventually show, man. Like, it will eventually come to life, man. Like, and that is one thing that 1 million views really taught me. Another thing, man, is sticking to the fucking plan, bro. Like, the fact that I didn't get 1 million views from telling jokes, and no shade to nobody for that does that, man. That just isn't my lane. I didn't get 1 million views for shaking my ass or doing some weird fucking dance or lip syncing, or I got 1 million views for doing something that was very passionate to me. I didn't do it to create some clickbait. I didn't do it to get a quick 1 million views, man. I watched it every single time, man, just grow and grow. And I remember before it was 1 million views, I remember when I was getting 1,000 views. And I remember before the 1,000, I was just getting 100 views. And before 100 views, I remember I was just getting 10 views. So when I tell you that hard work, it starts to pay off, it really does, man. And for anybody that don't believe it, man, shit, just head on over to my page. Look at my older videos. Listen to my older episodes, man. Like, you hear the growth. You hear how far I've come. You hear how far I've changed. Or let me phrase that, you hear how much I've changed. So I cannot say this enough, man. Thank you so much for the 1 million views. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. I know somebody thinking right now, 7 minutes of straight heat, and you telling me that we haven't even started today's episode? God damn, Meech, Jesus Christ. I know, man, but I had to get that off my chest. You know what I mean? Like, I really had to get that off my chest, because it was Father's Day. I hit 1 million views, and hella freeze over before I get on here and say and not talk about it. You know what I mean? So I really wanted to get started with that, man. But today's episode, man, just like what I did last week, I really want to just start off with a quote. And today's quote is something that it's a quote that I've seen before. It's a quote that has resonated with me. It's a quote that I have hung up in my studio. It's be gentle to your mental. And for those who don't understand, man, a lot of times we are our biggest critics. You know what I mean? We're the hardest on ourselves. We're the first one to hold us accountable, but we're the last ones to give ourselves praise. And on our rough days, we never take our foot off the gas. We constantly are applying pressure. When we fail, we about to beat ourselves down. You know what I mean? When things don't go our way, we about to tear ourselves apart. When we mess up, we about to scrutinize ourselves. And I don't know who need to hear this, but please, man, be gentle to your mental. You know what I mean? Be gentle to your mental state. Whether that's taking a break when you need it, whether that's giving yourself, what's that word? Giving yourself grace when you need it. And for those who don't know what grace means, man, like that's giving yourself that permission to honestly be yourself. You know what I mean? That's giving yourself permission to honestly fuck up. That's giving yourself permission to be human. And I don't know who need to hear that. Somebody right now listening, they a top tier performer. They hold themselves to a standard that nobody else could ever reach. So when they fall, man, they fall hard. And I just really want to just tell you, man, like allow yourself to be human. Give yourself that exact same grace that you give everybody else. Let me rephrase that. Give yourself that exact same love that you give everybody else. You know, when you be telling people, hey, you worked hard, go ahead, take the day off. Why don't you give yourself that? When you tell somebody, when you pat somebody on the back for their accomplishments, why don't you do that for yourself? Them self-care days that you preach about all the time, Demetrius, how about you take one for yourself? So with that being said, man, I cannot stress this enough. And I want to say thank you, Bandy, for putting this out there, putting this message out there. But be gentle to your mental. Now, today's episode is, I actually heard it last week, and it was a line that really resonated with me. And it resonated with me for the simple fact that this is actually something I tend to struggle with a lot of, because I'm very self-aware, very self-aware, but at the exact same time, man, like that self-awareness is almost like a gift and a curse. And I feel like how I show up, people will perceive me in a way that I don't want them to perceive me as, so I try my best to always put my best foot forward. So somebody told me that you just sometimes just got to own the fucking space. And I don't know who need to hear this, but you really got to just own the fucking space that you're in. It's somebody right now, man, that's afraid to really own that space. When they walk into a room, they do everything in their power to try to shrink and just fit themselves in like this little corner. They don't want to be noticed. They don't want to stand out. They don't want to cause any ruckus. They just want to just be small within this space. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but when you do that, man, you think you're doing everybody a service, but what you're actually doing is doing everyone a disservice. You are in a space right now, and whether that's at a new job, whether that's in a new position, whether that's at a new unit, whether that's just anywhere, you owe it to the people that are around you to own the space that you're in. And when you own that space, right? You're saying to the world that you belong here. You understand your value, you understand what you bring to the table, and you understand what you bring to the team overall. And somebody once told me that when you walk into a room, everybody is safer because you are in there. The place is much better because you are in there, and the situation has gotten a lot better because you have now entered that room. And I really need you to understand that. Stop shrinking and saying to yourself, man, I just don't want to stand out, or I don't want to be perceived as arrogant. I don't want to be perceived as too overly confident. Fuck all of that, man. Own it. You know what I mean? Own that energy that you walk into the room. You know what I mean? Own that space that you walk into a room. Some of y'all are really qualified. You feel me? Like really qualified to be doing the job that you're doing, but you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in yourself. And because you don't believe in yourself, you want to shrink and hide into a corner. Because you don't feel like you belong there, because you see how everybody is, or let me rephrase that, you see how everybody is stacked against you, and you feel to yourself, can I really top that, or can I really amount to that? You feel as if you don't belong there. And I just really want you to take that thought, and I want you to toss it, bro, because you do. You really do. And I remember that, man, because in 2020, when I first showed up to my last job, I shrunk. And I shrunk because I felt like I didn't belong there. I looked at everybody around me and I saw how great they were. I looked at everybody around me and I said to myself, like, look how great they are, man. Like, these people are so much better than me. I don't belong in here. And I spoke in a manner of somebody that was less than them. I acted in a manner of somebody that was less than them. I treated myself as somebody that was less than them. And what did that get me? It got me absolutely nothing. To be honest with you, I took a shovel and I just dug this enormous hole and it spent a year trying to climb out of it just to show everybody that I was their equal. And the only person I had to blame was myself. Because a lot of times, man, when you refuse to own the space, you were allowing everybody else to have it. When you refuse to own the space, let me rephrase, when you refuse to acknowledge the space that you are in and own up to it, you allow people to take that space for themselves. And what does that mean? You allow them to generate this perspective of. You allow them to be able to approach you in however way they want to. You allow them to be able to treat you however you want to. And unfortunately, man, like nobody wins with that. So I will say this. When you walk into that room, right? As you walk in there on this Monday morning, I want you to own that fucking space, okay? I want you to let these people know that you're here, all right? When you walk in, you should feel like you got this aura about yourself that you know exactly what you should be doing. You know what I mean? You walking into a room and you like, I'm here. And I want everybody to know that. And I don't care how everybody feels. When they have a conversation, look into the conversation. Sit at the edge of your seat like as if you're in the conversation. When people talk to you, I want you to talk from the bellow of your voice. I don't want you to have this shakiness in it. You know what I mean? I want you to have some confidence about yourself because it's going to pay off in the long run. And lastly, man, like don't judge yourself based off of everybody else's accomplishments. Stop trying to stack yourself against people that been there longer than you, that have done something differently than you did. Just like what I said in the very beginning of this, man, it takes time, it takes effort, and you got to show the fuck up. But if you're going to show up, you need to own the space that you're showing up to. Now, as we come to a close of this episode, I really want to just surprise everybody and just share that I have decided to partner up with Rare Bandy for the, I don't know who need to hear this, but Be Gentle to Your Mental campaign. As everyone knows that June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And just like what I have mentioned throughout this entire episode, throughout this entire podcast, and what a lot of my content centers around is just idea of mental health. Whether that's for the man, whether that's for the service member, it's always been something that resonated deeply with me. So with that being said, it is with my pleasure that I decided to partner up with my longtime friend and creative design behind the Talking Crazy podcast, behind the Meech Speaks, and to just share with everybody I don't know who need to hear this, but be gentle with your mental. Shirts are now available at rarebandy.com. Link is down in the show notes. And don't forget to head on over to the Instagram and check out the link there. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Don't forget to head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, and leave this podcast an honest review because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. Also, don't forget to head on over to TikTok or Instagram and follow me at Meech Speaks. That's right, Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled M-E-E-C-H. Stay motivated, stay healthy. I'm out.